All right, I got some news for you guys. In a few hours, I will be doing an interview with the leader of the National Citizens Alliance, which is a very minor political party here in Canada. That man is Stephen Garvey. I will be interviewing him. I'll be introducing him to the audience. I even have questions myself for Mr. Garvey. I think he is probably the most underrated politician in this country. And especially at a time when the pick of the litter that we are forced to choose from in October is such an atrocious set of individuals at that. Such a terrible, no good pick. The choice that Canadians have, and I'm saying choice of people who have a chance of winning, is similar to going to a dog shelter to pick up a dog. One dog has AIDS. The other dog keeps throwing up every 2 seconds. The other dog has one eyeball missing. The other dog has one ear missing. And the other one is a nasty chihuahua that will rip up the couch the moment you put him down. I mean, it is such a poor selection. And my hope for this election is that there is a minority. I did endorse Scheer previously. I'm taking back that endorsement. What I want, though, is a minority conservative government. Because out of all of them, that is the only party which is reasonable enough for me, which has a chance of even getting a minority. And for those of you who think that the PPC would even get a minority, much less a majority, you all are crazy as hell. You all are living in a different universe, and you can hate me for that all you want. You can cuss me all you want. You can get offended. I'm gonna say something, but I'm gonna explain why my feelings of all of these political parties, and then I'm gonna go into the NCA. But let me just say something. I think the PPC supporters are some of the most they are some of the most sensitive individuals on the planet. Now, not all of them. The younger ones, surprisingly, are actually not as sensitive. The younger ones, younger, my age and under, friends of mine too. I've got many friends in the PPC, young people. They're not offended when I say that Maxime Bernier is a fraud. They don't get offended. It's the older ones, the boomers, and you guys are the ones who think they know everything but really don't know much because, as I've said before, the boomers really they were not a good generation. I mean, their parents were a great generation. That was a great World War II generation. They fought the Depression. They picked themselves up by their bootstraps, and then their low down kids went off doing drugs, fighting police, Black Panthers, all sorts of craziness. So, and then now they're old, they think they're so smart, and they really aren't, and they get so easily offended, and that gets on my nerves. But let me go on to Scheer first of all. Andrew Scheer does not deserve a majority. Now, I will endorse a minority conservative government, but he doesn't deserve a majority because, and for a number of reasons. One thing that I've noticed about conservatives in this country is that they are not like, they're not populists, they're not nationalists. And I'm not a conservative, I'm an independent. I've said that over and over again. I have I've had to scold people for calling me a conservative because I'm not. Populist, nationalist, independent. That's what I am. Conservatives in this country do not share those beliefs. These are, I call them Bay Street Tories. It's all about money and that's it. Now, in Scheer's case, it's not just about money, but it's what can he do to not appear too much of a threat to the establishment. And I've noticed that about a lot of conservatives. Even Doug Ford lately has been doing that. And he still hasn't gotten back to me to do an interview. His press secretary hasn't gotten back to me. His advisors haven't gotten back to me. You guys saw the video about what happened at Ford Fest, where my friend was wearing a Faith Goldie shirt. I'm not saying that. I mean, I like Faith. I know her personally. Well, sort of. But, I mean, I'm not like a crazy Faith fan. I just feel that, he has the right to wear that. Who gives a damn what the media have to say about it? And I don't think the media would notice one Asian Canadian, 26-year-old with a Faith shirt on. In fact, they'd probably try to hide him because he's Asian. That would go against their narrative that it's old white folk that only like Faith. And that's actually not that true. In fact, a lot of young people like her. But he hasn't gotten back to me, and you guys saw what happened. They tried to have him take it off and everything. So I've come to the conclusion that conservatives in this country really are more about trying to appease the establishment. And if they're not trying to appease the establishment, then they're a part of the establishment. And if they're not a part of the establishment, then they're just individuals who are just trying to focus on money, money, money. And not necessarily putting money in our pockets. It's more about money for big businesses and to, all sorts of other things. It's Bay Street Tories. And that disappoints me because that's not what I am. And unfortunately, I've seen a lot of that ilk trying to infiltrate its ways into genuinely populist, or once were populist organizations like Tea Party, and you don't hear about them much anymore, but Yellow Vests in this country, not necessarily Europe, the Yellow Vest movement in Europe is still very pure. The one in Canada is not pure at all. It's really been infiltrated, and the leaderships, whoever it is, on social media, all those things, they need to do something about it. They can't just have this open tent of all these different people who don't believe in populist, grassroots ideologies of the Yellow Vests originally coming in and trying to bring in their own thing. So that's my problem with Scheer. Until we get a really good leader who is a populist nationalist, someone like Viktor Orban in Hungary, Vladimir Putin in Russia, to a certain extent Donald Trump in the United States, those kind of people, I don't think the conservatives should be getting any majority just to be, not doing much of anything. And then Maxime Bernier, I've said this before. I don't care who I offend. You guys are too damn offensive. You guys are too damn offended easily. Get over yourselves. Grow up. Grow some nuts. Hear some criticisms. It might help you. Stop being a little baby. I've said this. And this can actually help Maxime if he listens instead of, he's never done anything, but it's his supporters whining about, how could you say that? I've said this. He has a problem with being an economic globalist in nationalistic clothing. And he needs to stop that. He needs to answer for that. First of all, I'm not necessarily a supporter of supply management, but what I am a supporter of is protecting our industry, and especially our farming industry. Why are we going to sell our farm? Why are we going to subject our farmers to the global community where they're going to determine whether or not we eat or drink or not? No. If we decide that we're going to open up our farming industry to, and I'm a big free trader, but if we're going to open up our farming industry to all these different countries, and then our industries can't compete, and then one day the countries of the world decide that they don't like the fact that they don't like what something Canada does, and they say, well, we're going to stop trading with you, we're going to put sanctions on you, we're going to put, whatever they want to do. Well, then we starve. We've already not taken care of our farmers, and then we end up starving. So that is one of the biggest things that he has to answer for. This whole thing about getting rid of supply management instead of fixing it, fixing what's wrong with it, but getting rid of it. That's a Yankee Canuck move, and I don't like Yankee Canucks. But not only that, in his past, he has not only supported globalist initiatives when he was a cabinet minister, but he has spoken out against people who have advocated for nationalism and less globalism. He's spoken out against people who have advocated for, a restriction on the type of people we bring to the country. And I'm not against immigration. My parents were immigrants. But the fact of the matter is he's spoken out against people like Kelly Leach when she talked about Canadian values. I mean, he and Kevin, they bashed that. They bashed her for it. And now he's all of a sudden some kind of national... No, he's not. Not to mention his father was an ambassador. The fruit didn't fall too far from the tree. I wouldn't blame him if he was different and I could see it. And that's what I'm going to talk to Stephen Garvey about of the NCA. But he's not. So I don't trust him. Now, the reason why I'm really becoming very excited about Stephen Garvey and the NCA is because I've read a lot about them. They seem, for the most part, pretty legitimate. Now, I'm going to interview him. I'm going to ask him questions that I want to know and that probably you want to know. And you can go in the comments section and give me some questions that you want me to ask him. But when I hear him talk, I mean, he actually talks about the real issues. He's not just a typical normie conservative just going on the same things every other so-called conservative talks about. I mean, he actually really knows what's going on. I mean, I would compare him to people like Ron Paul and all those things, but I don't know him that much. So I'm glad that he has offered to come on and be interviewed, which will be uploaded sometime this evening, if not early tomorrow morning. And then, of course, you guys know my opinion on the Liberals. I'll never vote for Justin Ataki and Macdonald Trudeau. There's nothing he could do at this point which would give me his vote. Nothing. I've been against him since day one, when a lot of you guys were head over heels for him. NDP, the NDP party of Tommy Douglas is dead. It's not a party of the working man anymore. It's not a party of grassroots agrarian populism anymore. It used to be actually a very Western party. Today, I don't think there'd be any self-respecting Westerner that could go for the NDP. And it's not that I even have anything against Singh, like I do with the Mac Daddy. I don't think Jagmeet Singh is evil. I just think he's naive. And I think he's being used by Trudeau. Because if Trudeau gets a minority, which it could happen, he'll use him to prop him up. So I'm advocating for a minority government, a minority conservative government that is at the mercy of the PPC and the NCA, and they can all keep each other under surveillance, especially the conservatives. I want because there's a lot of things in the PPC platform that I do support, privatizing CBC and all that stuff. I would like the PPC and the NCA to keep tabs on the conservatives, and I want the conservatives to make sure to prevent Maxime Bernier from implementing more globalism, economic globalism into Canada. That's what my ideal plan would be. This is the Arana Nation.